Welcome to this recorded session from FMEC's Implementing Group Visits for Integrative Health event. We pick up this recording with our first presentation of the evening by Dr. Suhani Bora.
Well, hi, everyone. I'm really looking forward to talking with you all about how to incorporate group medical visits in a residency program. So I've been facilitating medical group visits for about 12 years in a variety of different institutions, and they're absolutely one of the types of practicing that give me the most joy. There's always laughter, and for me, it's a place to be creative within medicine. Let me flip the slide. There we go. Let's see. There's also some evidence that group visits can improve equity because the visits are longer, and it can mitigate bias by having longer visits and by reducing the power differential. And we all know that when our patients do better, physicians are better, or we have lower rates of burnout when our physicians are happier. So I absolutely love group visits, and I'm so happy to be talking with you about them. I've been a core faculty member at Lawrence Family Medicine Residency for quite some years now. We're located within an FQHC north of Boston. Our patient population is predominantly Spanish speaking, and we're a 4-year residency. We have an integrative medicine area of concentration, along with a number of other areas of concentration, and that begins in year 3. So it's a 2-year area of concentration. And the integrative medicine area of concentration is a fellowship equivalent. So today I'm going to talk to you about our residency's wellness group visit program. I'll talk to you also about how to engage your leadership to have buy-in, about some finances, and how to include residents. I'll have some pearls at the end, and we'll have some time to answer your questions, because I know incorporating group visits is very specific for each different institution, so I want some time to be able to answer your questions. So just some background, in 2022, we started with 2 healthy weight groups. We invited our patients who are waiting for obesity med consults. We had around 6+ month wait list at that time. In 2023, we started our chronic pain group visits, and in this current academic year, we'll have finished a total of 8 wellness group visits for our chronic pain and for our healthy weight. And in the upcoming academic year, we hope to have 8 chronic pain groups and 8 healthy weight groups if we can get additional staffing. And these are some pictures of our residents at some of our group visits this past year. So our wellness group visits are 6-week groups. We initially started with 8-week groups in 2022, but because of attrition towards the end, we shortened it to 6 weeks, and that's been a good number for us so far. They meet for 2 hours per week. I've modeled this wellness group series on centering pregnancy, since we've been doing centering pregnancy for about 12 years as well, and many of our faculty and residents are familiar with centering pregnancy. So when they flip over to doing wellness group visits, it's a familiar setting and a familiar format for them. If you're familiar with centering pregnancy group visits, you'll know that we don't really have lectures. It's not didactic. Everything is based on activities and discussion. So I've just shown you a little snapshot of our 2 group visits. So the wellness one is actually healthy weight. We don't really call it healthy weight, but it's healthy weight. We focus on wellness. And you can see it's mostly focusing on movement, healthy sleep, mindfulness, and healthy food. And the chronic pain group visits are very similar, with a little bit more of a focus on pain. We start with relaxation and mindfulness, healthy sleep, movement, and healthy food. The curriculum is an ongoing work in progress that keeps improving with every iteration of groups. An example is that for an afternoon session, at 2 o'clock is when the residents and faculty and staff arrive. So staff would be our group visit coordinator or an MA, and our residents and faculty. We have about a half an hour to prep, and about 2:30, well, at 2:30, hopefully our patients start to arrive. And between 2:30 and 3, we divide our 2 residents to see the patients individually. They have about 5 to 10-minute visits. And then at 3 o'clock, we hope to start, and we have an hour and a half for the group portion. So this is what a sample of an afternoon looks like for a group. So from 2 o'clock to 2:30, I said we set up the room. We also finalize which resident and which faculty are going to be doing which portion. From 2:30 to 3, we have the individual visits. This is the part that's required for billing. We use 2 exam rooms, and each resident takes an exam room and divides up the patients as they walk in. When they walk in the door, they get their vitals done, and then I, as the faculty, the preceptor, helps arrange the patient, send them to the resident they need to be seen. And then I also invite them, I welcome them. I give them coloring books or crayons or markers. Make sure we have music and snacks and encourage activity, encourage discussion. And everyone gathers around at 3 o'clock. We begin with our check-in when we review the SMART goal from the previous week. We begin with an activity. There could be different activities. An example is for one on sleep. We could divide the room into two. Each pair then talks about a sleep routine that has worked for them in the past, and then everyone reports back as a group. We take a break. For those of you who are centering pregnancy trained, breaks are really important. It's a time to socialize and to connect and create connections. We then have our second activity, which is often movement-based or yoga or mindfulness. One of our favorite ones for sleep is to do a taste test of different sleepy time teas. People can compare different floral notes or their interests and which one they like better. And we always send people home with tea bags to try out and report back the following week. And an important part of our groups is SMART goal setting. For the last 15, 20 minutes, we go through each patient, and each patient creates a SMART goal. And I say patient, but it includes everyone in the room. So when we sit in a group, we all are together, including the facilitator, the MA, the residents, faculty. We all set our own SMART goals, and we help each other workshop our SMART goals. And then the last half hour, if we had any latecomers, they can get their individual visit with the resident. We can clean up, we can precept, and prep for the next week. So how to incorporate learners? So all of our wellness groups have residents. So I have assigned 2 to 3 residents and 1 faculty to each 6-week group series. Each resident to be scheduled in that group needs to be able to be free to attend at least 3, ideally 4 or 5 different sessions. The faculty can be there for most of them, and subs as needed if someone is on vacation or rounding in the hospital. And this counts as a continuity session for residents. So if they're in a week of inpatient, this session will count as their clinic for that week. So they can still come when they're an inpatient. Again, if this is a picture, think about, this is our tea testing picture. We brought in some mugs and different teas. And you can see our residents interacting with our patients. We have a rug and tablecloths, and we try to make it a pretty environment in our group space. This is an example of what a template looks like for a group. This is the current one that's ongoing right now. So it's 6 weeks weekly. You can see the attending. There's a different one because our attending couldn't make it for the first one, so we had someone substitute. And this is someone who's never done a wellness group visit before, but has extensive experience in centering pregnancy. So I just prepped him, explained what this looks like, and he was very comfortable walking into the group. You can see our residents. It's usually a mixture of years. So in our 4 and our 3 or in our 2, we try not to include first-year residents until the very end of the year. So this group is all 3rd and 4th years. Brenda is one of our 3rd year. No, she's a 2nd year currently. She'll be an integrative medicine area of concentration resident, and so will Gabby, who is a graduating 4th year. So these group visits are not just for integrative medicine residents, but for all of our residents. But all integrative medicine residents, AOC residents or area of concentration residents, are prioritized to facilitate groups. And our facilitator is fantastic. Her name is Series, and she does all of our wellness group visits. So just some background on how we got this started. So this took longer than I expected because of transition of leadership and because of COVID. I anticipated about 2 years. It took about 5, but I think in normal times without a new pandemic, it should take 1 to 2 years. So I started pre-COVID with doing a paper survey, and I'll have some graphs later. This was just for me when I first came back to Lawrence about 5 years ago to find out what types of group visits do patients want. And we did it on paper, handed it out at the clinic. We got about 198 responses or so. Which was really helpful for me to decide that, we should really focus on weight, because with the whole discussion about weight inclusivity and health at every size, I was nervous about having a weight group, but definitely our patients wanted that, which is why we did that. And then during COVID, we did another very large survey of our patients, really informal, just trying to find out what types of group visits they wanted for online group visits, but we never actually did our online group visits. We just focused on our in-person group visits. And then I was also asked to write a business proposal by our health center leadership. And so I used our community health needs assessment and strategic plan, which should be available at all of your institutions, to help guide what the needs of the institution are and what our patients are. And I used information from what the patients wanted and from what the company wanted to create a business proposal that met everyone's needs. And I involved residency leadership from the very beginning of this process. And I've been meeting monthly with our CMO. It says COO, actually I meant CEO, actually, and COO, to be honest, every month, just to keep everyone in the loop with everything along the process and to be as transparent as possible. And my goal, so in 2022, we started with a very small pilot with 2 groups, and we also restarted our centering pregnancy groups, but I'm not talking about that today. If you have questions about that, please let me know. But my plan was to start with a very small pilot and to have very modest goals and be very consistent and clear with my communication with leadership. For finances, I'm happy to answer questions too later about this. So my goal was always to be cost neutral. We are sometimes, we're not always. Since there is a faculty and residents at every visit, this counts as a precepting session for the faculty, and resident clinics are within a residency budget, which means we're not quite as particular about the patients per hour. I'm also very clear that whenever we're starting a new group visit at a new institution, it takes time, as in years, to be able to have an adequate patient number because it's always a slow process. Recruitment is always an issue, always an issue. And so before even starting, it helps to have a really solid recruitment strategy in place. I'm not going to talk about our AC or fee for service. I'm happy to answer questions about that. And then, not where I am right now, copays are not a huge issue, but where I used to work, it was an issue. And so one thing that we did was we talked with our local HMO to see if patients can use their wellness money for that year to pay for copays. And there are many different tactics you can use, but that's one of them. This is just a really quick, I'm just going to show you. This is from our paper survey that I did before COVID. And I just get an idea of what types of group visits patients are interested in. This long spike here is weight loss. So this is what patients are interested in. We also asked about what kind of barriers could be possible for our patients. And this is in designing our group visit model, we kept these in mind. And just some pearls, I would say start planning ahead. I started meeting regularly with our team about a year to a year and a half before starting implementing our first group visit process. And I had many meetings before that with finance, legal, operations, and residency leadership, just to make sure everyone had their chance to give feedback and to provide any support or ideas moving forward. We are working on getting facilitation training for our faculty and many of our residents. And we have a really strong team. We have our group visit coordinator. We have some amazing faculty, as well as operations and residency administration for scheduling. And then in recruitment, I'm happy to talk about recruitment. Creating a referral button or just relying on referrals is never enough. Even though people really want groups, they're not going to necessarily remember to put in a referral. So for all of our groups, we have another way to recruit patients. People can refer, absolutely, but for our healthy weight patients, we call people off of a wait list. For obesity medicine, we have a spiel. And then for our chronic pain group visits, our integrative medicine consult service has about a 3 to 4 month wait list. And so we call patients off that wait list as well. And then again, persistence and patience. Once they get going, they're amazing. Getting them off the ground is not an easy task. But it is so worth it. This is one of our centering pregnancy groups from last year. Some babies and a resident in the middle and a faculty and staff. And this is from one of our very, very first group visit in 2022, and they're doing some yoga. And you can see them coloring. They do lots of coloring in our group visits. And that is all I have for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. I'm happy to talk with you or answer any emails.